I picked up this really cool old table, and I really like it, but one thing with it is this one foot on this leg is busted off, or the end. I'm going to try and replace that, and the kicker is I have a piece of walnut which is pretty close to the same coloring. The walnut is 3/4 of an inch thick, this width here, and this leg is 7/8, so it's off by 1/8 of an inch. So what I'm going to try and do is cut down a bigger piece, a thicker piece of rough walnut from a log, and see if that'll work. If not, I'll use the 3/4. But what I'm going to do starting out is take a leg that's not damaged. Actually, I'll use this one. I have a piece of cardboard. It's actually a piece from a cereal box. Put that on there. I'm going to make a template. For the piece that's missing. So I go something about like that. So I need to replace this much wood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out. So I have a template that I can transfer on to the new piece of wood that'll go here. I've got the template cut out for the replacement leg. Something like this. And what I'm going to do too is on the bandsaw, I'm going to cut this off so it's straight. Right now there's about probably an A 3/16 jog in it, and that'd be really hard to put a piece of wood up to and get a really nice joint. So I'm going to cut that off so that it's straight. And here's the piece of walnut log that I picked up, and I'm going to try and cut this down into dimensional lumber. We'll see how that goes. The plan is probably make a cut somewhere here, maybe somewhere here, and I probably won't be able to go that wide. There's only so much room on the bandsaw. We'll see what works out, but I don't need a very big piece for this, so we'll see. I mean, all I need is that. So we'll see what fits at, or what I can get cut out of here. We'll see how it goes. This piece I've cut out is it's probably 1/8 inch too wide, and it's got some lines in it from the bandsaw. So I'll put this in the vise. And using a jack plane, I'm going with the grain. Clean that up a bit. Boy, that walnut is really hard. When you set down a jack plane, always set it on its side, because the blade is right there and you can end up dulling it if you set it down that way. Always want to set it on its side. I clean it up a bit, but boy, it's really tough. I'm going to try this fairly coarse sandpaper. Yeah, that's cleaning up pretty good. I'm going to do the other side. The jack plane blade is really dull. I'm going to have to sharpen that, but I'm going to actually use a file. It was really coarse, or a rasp, and this is a finer side. I'm using the coarse side first. It should take down the wood faster, more aggressive. And then using the finer side. I don't have to take this down too much, and I don't want to go too far. Then I have to remake the piece. Let's see how she looks. I had ways to go yet, but I'm going to actually start to create this contour of the leg. I'm going to have to round off the edges quite a bit, and then I'm going to have to try and make that detail. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but we'll see if we can figure that out. And I'll just use that same file. Start rounding off these edges. And I want to go, the green is running this way. So actually I want to come off of this edge. If I come in this way, I could chip that out. That would be a bummer. So it's going to work with the coarse side. I'm rounding off this edge. And then this edge, I want to go this way. I always want to check my grain and see which way it's running of how I'm taking off wood. So I'll work on that for a while. I've got this handed down to the width and the height that I want. It's pretty good, and I've left this bottom flat because this is also flat. But now I need to create these details, which was probably done with the router. So I'm going to mark close as I can. Those lines are. I'm going to use my finger, and I'll try and use it as a guide to extend that line. And I'll do those other lines, and then I'm going to start filing this down, try and replicate this rounded detail, but it needs to go down probably 1/16 of an inch on this side and this side, and it's maybe a 32nd on here. So I'm trying to replicate that deal as well as I can. I'll move the lines. I have to remove some of this wood here, keeping pretty much this same elevation. So I'm going to use a hacksaw and cut along that middle line, not going in too deep, about a 1/16 of an inch or so. I don't want to go all the way on that line down to the bottom. Now do the other side. Now on this other edge, following that line, I want to file a groove into that wood. And then I'm going to have to take out, I'm going to have to cut down further here. I'm going to have to take out some of this wood. Probably filing, maybe use wood carving tools. I'll have to experiment with that a little bit. I chipped a little piece out of this, and I don't want a big hole there, so using some carpenter's wood glue. In there. This chip is tiny. Don't want to drop it. I'm actually gonna let that's in there. I clamp it in the vise. Usually gluing wood together, if you can clamp it, get a much better bond that way. This has dried for a couple days. Right there. Yeah, looks good. I'm gonna file and go this way. I don't want to go out that way. I could chip that back out. Now I need to work on taking this down and that down a bit more. I'm going to use file. That's really slow. Wood carver's chisel. This is my favorite at that angle. This can go a bit faster. Just removing more material. I've got this rounded the way I want it, and I have this detail done. And I need to put a slight little shelf around this edge. And what I'm going to do is work on it. You can see the grain here is running this way. I want to go this direction. If I come down that way, I'm going against the grain at about a 45, and that can gouge out and things, so I don't want to do that. So put this in the vise, tighten it up. I'm using a file that has a really nice sharp corner on it, and I'm going in about a 1/16 of an inch from this edge. I'm gonna have to re-put it in the clamp, but you get the idea. Just putting that that ledge in there, that small little detail on that outer edge. I've let this dry overnight. Let's see how it looks. Oh yeah, looks great. None of his doubt. Looks really good. So next thing will be to put some polyurethane on that. And it should look closer to that color because polyurethane will darken this up. Put some on the rag. And I'll put a coat on that whole piece there and let it dry overnight. Let this dry overnight. The directions said 8 to 10 hours. It's been 24, so good. And it matches almost the same. It's not perfect, but close. So now I put some satin polyurethane on a rag. And I'm just going to rub a coat on here. And this is kind of like the stain too. I don't want to dirty a brush just for this little thing. So the rag works well. I've done this for years and it works great. One tip too was that I learned is women's nylon stockings work really well for doing this too. I don't have any, so just using a cotton rag. And you might get some filaments and stuff in this, but not an issue. This will be down at floor level, and it's not likely I'll ever see those. So I'm gonna put a coat on there and let that dry. And this is dried overnight. Oh, it turned out looking really nice. I put on a satin finish. It pretty much matches the original. Color's not perfect, but it's close. I could have maybe put another coat of stain on that to get that a little bit darker, but I like it the way it is. So, but be sure and check out my other videos. Please subscribe, like, share, leave a comment below. Have a great day.